All right, let's dive into this. Boosting your memory. We've got all these audio clips from Dr. Gary Small's program, Improve Your Memory Now. And you're looking for kind of the most valuable takeaways, right?
Yeah,
So think of this as your cheat sheet to a better memory.
I like it.
Yeah. And packed with stuff you can actually use, like right away.
Well, he really emphasizes that, memory loss is not inevitable, even though we all have those slips.
Right, those senior moments.
Exactly, yeah. And he offers all these tools to improve memory performance now and really safeguard against future decline, too.
I love that. It's almost like you're taking your brain to the gym.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Before we get into that whole workout, though, I was really interested in what he said about objective versus subjective memory.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Can you kind of break that down for us?
Yeah, so objective memory is like your actual performance on memory tests, right? So like recalling lists of words or whatever. But subjective is like what you think about your memory.
So like how good you think your memory is.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And he makes this point that they're both important.
Interesting. So even if I feel like my memory is terrible, it doesn't necessarily mean it actually is.
Right, that's exactly right. He says subjective awareness can actually predict your future performance. So it's kind of like an internal barometer for brain health.
Okay.
Yeah. He actually has a questionnaire in his book Memory Bible that can kind of help you assess where you stand with that.
Okay. Memory Bible.
Yeah.
Added to the reading list. All right, so let's get into some of these tools and techniques that he provides. He talks about relaxation, which I thought was really interesting
And that's a big one.
because it seems counterintuitive. How does relaxing help your memory?
Well, think about it. When you're stressed out or you're multitasking like crazy, your brain's kind of like a computer trying to run like 10 programs at once.
Okay.
And it just gets overloaded. It slows down. It can't process things as well.
So relaxation is like hitting the reset button
Exactly, yeah.
for your brain. Okay.
And he calls it the relaxation response. It helps your brain kind of shift out of that scattered state, and it becomes calmer and more focused so it can absorb and retain information better.
Okay, yeah.
And he actually takes people through a relaxation exercise in the program where you basically just kind of release tension, starting with your forehead and then kind of your jaw, your neck, and your shoulders.
Okay.
So it's very simple, something you can do immediately.
I'm always up for a little bit of zen. Okay, so let's get to what feels like the heart of this program, which is the look, snap, connect technique.
Ah, yes.
It sounds really simple. I'm guessing it's more than meets the eye.
It is simple in practice, but it's incredibly powerful because it really works with the way our brains are wired, to encode information. So if you break it down, the look part is all about really observing,
Okay.
using all your senses, right? So it's not just glancing at something.
Just really taking it in.
You're engaging with it.
So instead of just seeing my keys on the counter, I should feel them and hear them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're creating this richer sensory experience,
Yeah.
and that makes it more memorable. And then the snap, that's creating a vivid mental snapshot
Okay.
of what you want to remember.
Okay.
And he really stresses using visuals here,
Yeah.
because our brains are much better at remembering images than abstract ideas.
So I shouldn't just think milk. I should picture a giant carton of milk.
Yes, you got it. And this is where it gets really fun, because you link those mental snapshots together, and you do that in memorable ways. So, you could imagine them interacting, stacking them on top of each other, or even, creating a little story around them.
So I could remember that I parked my car on level 3 by picturing 3 squirrels, juggling acorns on top of my car.
Perfect. Exactly, that's it.
Okay.
You just used look, snap, connect.
It's like a superpower.
It is. It is. He has some great examples in the program, too. He talks about remembering names and faces, which
Oh, that's my biggest
or
struggle.
not. It's a common one, right? He even talks about, remembering a name like Schernberger, which is
How do you even remember that?
I know. Well, he broke it down into, shine and burger, and then he pictured a big juicy cheeseburger spilling onto a pair of Shiny black shoes.
Okay, so you're taking something that's completely abstract and
Mhm.
turning it into a visual. Okay, so
Exactly.
you're saying I can use this for anything.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he introduces the link method and the story method, too, and those are both kind of built on that same idea.
Oh, okay. So tell me about those.
The link method, you're basically using the connect step to create like a chain of mental images
Hmm.
so that you can remember a list of unrelated
So
items.
if I need to remember dry cleaning, call my grandmother, buy groceries, and water the plants,
Yep.
I can make one big picture that connects all those things together.
Exactly. Yeah, and then the story method takes it like a step further, where you actually create a story
Okay.
and you weave those images into the story. So that helps you remember not just the items but also the order you need to do them in.
Wow.
Yeah. He memorizes a list of 10 words using that method.
Okay, and I'm guessing that's harder than it sounds.
It is. It took practice, but it's fun. It's like it's making memory into like a game.
I like it. Um, but what if you need to remember something like more structured, like a long number or a series of events? Does he address that at all?
Yeah, he does. He talks about mental aerobic exercises, and he, kind of compares it to jumping jacks for your brain.
Oh, okay.
So these are things that challenge your brain and keep it active, just like physical exercise keeps your body in shape.
So we're literally working out our brains.
Yes, yes.
All right.
And those exercises can target either the left brain, which is like more verbal,
Yeah.
or the right brain, which is more visual and spatial.
Can you give me some examples?
Yeah, a really simple one is just like writing your name, but with your non-dominant hand.
Oh, okay.
So that forces your brain to like create new neural pathways.
Interesting.
Yeah. Or you could try like logic puzzles, those
Yeah.
really engage your problem solving skills. Or even like trying to remember a sequence of numbers by figuring out what the pattern is.
I think I need to do more of this. I
Yeah.
feel like I just go through my day and my brain's just kind of on autopilot.
We all get stuck in routines, yeah. But the good thing is, there are so many fun ways to incorporate like mental aerobics into your routine, and he just encourages people to experiment and, try new things and find what works for them, make it a habit.
Okay. This is all great stuff, but does he talk about more practical things
Yeah.
like organization and memory management?
Yeah, yeah.
Because this is all about, kind of training your brain, but how do you apply it to your actual life?
That's a great question. And he definitely does. One technique he talks about is chunking,
Okay.
which is basically breaking down information into smaller, more manageable pieces.
So like instead of trying to remember a whole 10-digit phone number, I could break it up
Yeah, exactly.
into smaller chunks.
Right. And he suggests applying that to, like your driver's license number, credit cards, or any long number that you need to remember. It's amazing how much easier it is to recall information when it's organized in a way that, your brain likes.
I'm totally guilty of just trying to like cram information into my head without any method.
Yeah, we all do that sometimes.
Okay. But what about if you need to remember a whole bunch of things and in a specific order?
Mm-hmm.
Like let's say for a presentation or a speech. Does he have any advice for that?
He does. He actually shares a couple of ancient techniques that have been used for centuries to memorize like vast amounts of information.
Really?
Yeah. One is called the Roman room method, and the other is the peg method.
Okay, those sound really interesting.
Yeah.
Let's start with the Roman room method. What's the deal with that one?
It goes all the way back to ancient Rome, and orators used to use this technique to memorize their speeches.
Wow.
Yeah, so basically you imagine a room that you know well, like your living room or bedroom, and then you mentally place the items you want to remember on specific objects in that room.
Oh, so you're creating like a mental map
Mm-hmm.
using a space you already know.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, it uses your spatial memory, it turns your surroundings into a memory palace.
I like it. So like if I need to remember milk, bread, and eggs, I could picture like a giant carton of milk on my sofa and a loaf of bread balancing on my lamp, and
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
that's it.
That's really helpful.
Yeah, you can use it for shopping lists, packing lists,
Mhm.
key points for presentations, speeches, all kinds of stuff.
That's amazing. Okay, what about the peg method? That one sounds maybe a little bit more complicated.
It is a little more advanced, but it's especially good for remembering numerical sequences.
Okay.
Yeah. So you create what are called peg words
Okay.
for each number, and those serve as like mental hooks
Mhm.
for the information you want to remember.
So it's like assigning a visual teach number. But
Yeah.
how do you even like come up with the peg words? Well, he suggests choosing words that either rhyme with the number or visually resemble it.
Okay.
So for example, like bun could be the peg word for one, shoe for two, tree for three, like that.
Okay.
And then you can start linking those peg words to whatever you need to remember. So he gives this example of memorizing a social security number.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, or credit card numbers, passwords, things like that.
This is like next level memory stuff.
Yeah, it is. And the best part is it's like, you're working out your brain. The more you use these techniques, the stronger you get.
So it's never too late to start.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
feeling really inspired. But before we get carried away, I want to go back to that relaxation thing,
Mhm.
because he actually talks about a second relaxation exercise.
He does, yeah.
Is that right? And I'm curious, what's the difference?
So the first one's really about, releasing that physical tension.
Right.
The second one is more about like cultivating a sense of calm and mental clarity.
Okay.
So, you find a comfortable position, close your eyes, and then you imagine yourself in a place that brings you peace.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so it could be a beach, a forest, a mountaintop, whatever kind of evokes like feelings of serenity for you.
So it's like a mental vacation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the goal is to, quiet all those thoughts that are constantly running through your head
Okay.
and just be present, in that stillness.
And how long should you do that for?
He recommends at least 3 minutes, but, you can do it longer if you want.
3 minutes to a calmer mind. I
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. I think we covered a lot of ground already, and I need a minute to process.
That's a good idea.
But we'll get into the rest of it next time. So we talked about that difference between objective and subjective memory. We talked about the power of relaxation,
Right.
and then we kind of unpacked that look, snap, connect,
Yeah, the magic of it.
which is like mind blowing to me.
It is, yeah.
We even dipped our toes into the mental aerobics and organization techniques,
Mhm.
and even ancient memory methods.
Yeah. We did a lot.
We did a lot.
We did a lot.
Okay, so I'm excited to continue this journey with you
Yeah.
in the next part of our deep dive.
That's good. I'm ready.
It's like, we talk about memory as if it's this thing you either have or you don't.
Yeah, like you're either born with a photographic memory or you're always losing your keys.
Right, exactly. But what I like about his approach is he says, like, we actually have a lot more control
Way more.
than we think
Yeah.
over our memory.
He uses this analogy. It's like, we've all been given the keys to our mental fitness.
Right.
And, a big part of that is recognizing the lifestyle factors that affect memory.
Yeah, and he talks about 4 pillars of a brain healthy lifestyle. So physical exercise, mental stimulation, stress management, and diet. So let's break those down a little bit, starting with exercise. I mean, we all know it's good for our bodies, but what's the connection to memory?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting because when you exercise, it increases blood flow to the brain,
Okay.
which delivers all that, essential oxygen and nutrients.
Like food for the brain.
It is. It's like giving your brain this, revitalizing boost.
So it's not just about building muscles, it's about strengthening our brains too.
Exactly. And the best part is you don't need to be like, training for a marathon
Right.
to get these benefits. Even moderate exercise, like a brisk walk, swimming, dancing
Right.
can make a huge difference. And he really stresses like finding something that you enjoy
Yeah.
so you'll stick with it.
Makes sense. If you hate running, don't run.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right, so mental stimulation, what does that even mean?
It's all about challenging your brain.
Yeah.
Keeping it engaged, learning new things. It's like you're giving your brain all these interesting puzzles to solve.
So we're talking like reading, learning a language, taking up an instrument, that kind of thing.
Yeah, all of that. Even things like, brain training games or just having stimulating conversations, going to lectures.
Right.
Keeping your brain active.
Always wanted to learn Spanish. Maybe now's the time.
There you go.
Okay. Stress. So we talked about the relaxation response before, but how does chronic stress actually affect our memory?
Well, imagine stress as like this constant bombardment of your brain cells,
Okay.
right? It's hindering their ability to function at their best. And over time, that can actually lead to shrinkage
Wow.
in those key memory centers.
So those relaxation techniques are like our shield against that.
Yeah, you could say that. Managing stress is essential for a healthy brain.
Okay.
And it's not just about, meditating or breathing exercises.
Right.
It's about finding what works for you, whether it's spending time in nature, listening to music, connecting with people you love, doing something creative.
It's about making time for those things.
It is. It's about, prioritizing those moments of peace and rejuvenation
Yeah.
that allows your brain to kind of de-stress and recharge.
All right. So the last pillar, diet.
Yeah.
What does he say about food and memory?
Well, he really emphasizes that, what we eat directly impacts our cognitive function.
Okay.
And he really advocates for a balanced diet that's rich in antioxidants, omega-3 fatty acids, and, all those good brain-boosting nutrients.
So there really is truth to you are what you eat,
Absolutely.
even for our brains.
Yeah, he even talks about, good fats versus bad fats.
Okay.
Right? So encouraging things like olive oil, avocados, nuts, and
Yeah.
limiting, the saturated and trans fats.
Okay. And what about those antioxidants you were talking about? Where can we find those?
Those are, abundant in fruits and vegetables, especially those vibrant, colorful ones like berries, leafy greens, bell peppers.
So eating the rainbow is good for your brain.
Exactly. And just as important as what we eat is staying hydrated.
Right.
Water is essential for so many things,
Right.
including brain function.
Okay.
And he points out, dehydration can actually impair cognitive performance.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like we've been given this roadmap
Mm.
to a healthier, sharper mind. And it's all about these simple lifestyle choices.
It is. It is.
And what I think is so interesting, you mentioned this before. You said, genetics only determines about a third of our memory ability as we age.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So the vast majority is actually in our control.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's not just about what we inherit.
Right.
It's about the choices we make every single day.
It's empowering
It is.
to know that we actually have that ability to improve our memory, to protect our brain health.
Regardless of our genes.
Right. Yeah. All right. So let's get into some of those more targeted strategies and techniques
Yeah.
that he outlines. This is where it gets really exciting.
Let's do it.
It's amazing. It really is how much power we have over our own brain health. It's not just about accepting what we're given,
That's right. It really challenges that, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah.
He shows us we absolutely can at any age.
It's like he's giving us this toolbox
Yeah.
filled with strategies to
Yeah.
build a better brain.
And they're surprisingly, accessible. We can exercise. We can
Yeah.
manage stress. We can eat those brain-boosting foods we talked about. We can even use specific memory techniques to sharpen our skills.
Yeah, and it's not about like making these huge changes all at once.
Right.
It's more about incorporating them into your daily life.
Exactly. Making small, consistent efforts that really add up.
Yeah, just like physical fitness.
Mhm.
Okay, but I want to go back to what you said about 2/3 of our memory ability being determined by lifestyle choices.
Yeah, that's a powerful statement.
That means we have the ability to like write our own brain story.
We do. It's not just about our genes, it's about the choices we make, every day.
So for a listener who's like ready to take action, what are the most like actionable takeaways from this program? Where should they begin?
I'd say first and foremost, start using look, snap, connect in your everyday life. It's so simple, it's effective, and it's incredibly versatile. You can use it to remember names, grocery lists, where you parked your car. It's about turning information into these memorable images and connecting them in creative ways.
It's like turning your brain into a visual playground.
Exactly. And along with those mental workouts, prioritize physical exercise too. Find something that you enjoy and make it a regular part of your routine. Dancing, swimming, hiking, even just a brisk walk. Get that blood pumping, get those brain cells energized.
Movement is medicine.
It is.
Okay. So we've got, look, snap, connect, we've got exercise. What else?
Well, let's not forget about, nutrition. Pay attention to what you're feeding your brain. Those brain-boosting foods that we talked about. Fruits, vegetables, healthy fats, lots of water.
It's like you're creating a recipe for a sharper brain.
You are, you are. And don't underestimate the impact of stress on your brain either.
Hmm.
Find those healthy coping mechanisms, make time for the things that bring you joy, that help you relax. Whether it's meditation or spending time in nature, listening to music, connecting with loved ones, prioritizing stress management is key.
It's about giving your brain permission to, like, rest and recharge.
Exactly. And remember, these changes don't have to be huge, right? Start small, be consistent, and just, celebrate those little victories along the way.
Yeah, those small wins.
He says it's never too late and it's never too early to start living a lifestyle that keeps our brain young and healthy.
I love that. It's like a message of hope
Mhm.
and empowerment. Like, you have the power to take control of your cognitive health
Yeah.
and shape your brain's future.
You do, you do. And as you start to implement these strategies, remember that 2/3 of your memory ability is in your hands.
That's amazing.
What choices will you make today?
What a great question. So, to our listener, take this information, make it your own, and embark on this journey
Hmm.
of brain optimization.
Yeah.
Until next time, happy remembering.